You're listening to the Elvis Ultimate Fan Channel podcast, the channel that is devoted 100% to the life and career of the biggest selling recording artist of all time, with your host, Steve Francis.
Yes, you're very welcome to another episode from Elvis the Ultimate Fan Channel podcast. My guest this week is Elvis fan Don Horn, who was on the very first episode from this channel. And he joins me now from Memphis to talk about the upcoming Baz Luhrmann Elvis biopic, the auction from Graceland, Elvis's birthday proclamation at Graceland during Elvis Week in January. Hey Don, I'd like to welcome you back again to Elvis the Ultimate Fan Channel podcast. It was so popular, the first one was so popular that I just had to have you back.
Hey Steve, thanks for having me back again. I really enjoyed it, and I really enjoyed the feedback from everybody. I was obviously a little surprised that everybody enjoyed our ramblings so much, but yeah, I'm glad to be back with you again.
We were going to do this sooner, but you've had a little bit of illness in the family, haven't you?
Yeah, the entire city of Memphis has been rocked by the flu epidemic, and we were no exceptions. We all had my little girl brought it home from school, and we all followed shortly thereafter.
Yeah, it was what's known. Well, Elvis would have called it the creeping crud.
The creeping crud. Yeah, I told you that in a message that I sent you a few weeks ago. When you asked how I was doing, I told you I got the creeping crud, man, and I sure had it.
And as soon as I read that, I read it in Elvis's voice.
Yeah. Yeah. And as much I've been an Elvis fan pretty much all my life, and I've been a serious Elvis fan for probably 32 years or so now. I'm 47 now, and my dad's passed away now, but when I would talk to him before he passed away a few years ago, I'd be talking to him on the phone, and he'd say, "You sound a little bit like Elvis when you talk. You've been living in Memphis so long, you're starting to sound like you're from there now." I thought that was kind of funny.
That would make my day. If somebody said I sounded like Elvis, that would make my day.
Yeah, well, he told me that. He told me that more than once, and I denied it, but I thought to myself, yeah, I probably do, because I've watched all the movies and listened to all the concerts and all that, and I probably have picked up a little bit of his drawl a little bit.
No harm. You could sound a lot worse, couldn't you, than sounding like Elvis?
Oh yeah. Yeah. They could be much worse.
So the last time we spoke, we were wondering what the new Baz Luhrmann biopic would bring. And of course, since we last spoke, things have been trickling out on the media. There was stories about Austin Butler, who's going to play Elvis, splitting from his girlfriend Vanessa Hudgens. So they made a big deal of that. Although I don't really know much about her, to be honest. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know a lot about her either. I'm familiar with her. She's a fairly good singer, actually. But I don't know a whole lot about her.
And we weren't sure how old Austin Butler was, so I looked it up, and he's 28. 28
years old. Okay. Do we know? I still haven't heard for sure. Do we know what years the movie's going to cover? Is it going to be like from the mid 50s?
Well, I read that it's supposed to be 20 years. So okay. If Parker sort of came on the scene March 1956, that really takes it up to sort of 1976, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And I can't really see Austin Butler playing an Elvis from 71, 72 onwards.
No, and I think we talked about that previously. I can't see that either. But maybe, with the CGI, the way they have it these days, maybe they might be able to fix him up to where he really can look like it. Because, I'm sure you probably have seen some of the videos that they have on YouTube that are called deep fakes. Have you seen those?
No, I haven't seen those, no.
Well, what they do is they take a video of a person, anybody. For example, there's a comedian that used to be on Saturday Night Live. I forget his name right now, but there's a video of him on the Conan O'Brien show, and he's doing imitations of people like Robert De Niro and Arnold Schwarzenegger and Tom Cruise and people like that. And in these deepfake videos, they're able to take the face of the person that you're supposed to be, that you're doing the imitation of, and they're able to superimpose that person's face over the actual person that's doing the imitation, and it really looks like the person.
Wow.
So I don't know if they would have the rights to do that. I don't know if EP or whatever would allow the Baz Luhrmann and those people to actually take Elvis's face and do that. I don't know, but if they did, that would be pretty amazing if they did that.
Yeah, that's interesting. I must look that up actually.
Yeah, look up deep fake videos on YouTube. They've done thousands of them.
Right. Okay. The next thing that sort of came out was Olivia de Jong is going to be Priscilla Presley.
Yeah.
If I'm saying her surname right, I'm not too sure.
Yeah, I'm not too sure about that either. I did see.
Yeah.
I did see that Rufus Sewell is going to be playing.
Rufus
Vernon
Sewell is
Presley.
going to be Vernon. Maggie Gyllenhaal is going to be Gladys. Now, I got to admit, when I saw her photographs, I thought, yeah, I can actually see Gladys's face, the young Gladys in her.
I thought that too. And I saw on Facebook, I saw some people that didn't really disagree with that casting of her as Gladys, but I actually, she's a really good actress. So
yeah, for people that
she does have that look. She does have that look about her, like you said.
Yeah, for people that don't they can't place her. She was in Nanny McPhee and The Big Bang, and more recently she was in the Juice, the HBO show The Juice. She played Eileen Candy Morell. So that's just in case. But I mean, you can see her on, if you just Google her, you can see. And I was struck straight away. Yeah, I can definitely see Gladys. Yeah,
and wasn't she in the Dark Knight movies as well, the Batman movies a few years ago?
I'm not too sure, but she could have been. She could have been. Now, Rufus Sewell, who's playing Vernon, he was Jasper Bloom in The Holiday. Jude Law and Jack Black, Cameron Diaz, and actually Eli Wallach, which was one of his last roles, I think, was in The Holiday as well. So that's and he played Sidney Luft, I think, in Judy, opposite Renee Zellweger.
Yeah, he's been around for a while. He's
quite high profile.
He's 52 years old. I'm looking at his bio right now. He was in Hamlet. He was in the movie Hamlet. He was in Dangerous Beauty. He was in The Legend of Zorro, The Illusionist. So he's a pretty accomplished guy. He's from Twickenham, London, England.
Yeah, and I think he played Lord Melbourne in Victoria. Now, I'm not sure whether that was ever broadcast over in the States, but it was a television series, obviously Queen Victoria. It's been running for 6 seasons. I think there's a 7th season coming up.
That's on my list of shows to watch. I'm way behind on a lot of things, but that is on my list of shows to watch.
Yeah, he was very good in that. Very good in that. He was a kind of I think the young Victoria had a crush on him, but obviously it was never followed through. Okay. But yeah, that's and the release date has actually been set for October the 1st, 2021. We were discussing, we weren't sure when it was going to be released. Well, that's now the official release date is October the 1st, 2021. So it's a long time to wait.
Yeah, it really is. Have they started filming? I don't think they have they?
Well, I saw that Tom Hanks had arrived in Australia about 2 weeks ago. And when you go on Wikipedia, it's now listed as in production. So it must be underway, pre-production or something like that. Another thing I noticed as well is Wikipedia are actually calling it Elvis.
Yeah, I saw that.
Now, I can't... well, maybe that's just what it's going to be, but I would have thought it would have been something just apart from just Elvis. They need to give it a twist on it.
Yeah, I wondered about that too. I thought maybe they might be able to come up with something else, but I mean, all you really got to say is Elvis, and people know what it is. So that might be the way they decide to go, or that could just be a thing that's what they're calling it while they're in production, and then they'll come up with a final name later. Flame Star was originally Black Star.
Yeah.
Stuff
they
like
all,
that. So.
They all kind of have working titles, don't they?
Yeah, and what was it? Return of the Jedi was called Blue Harvest, I believe it was, when it was because they didn't want to release what the actual title was at the time.
some of the Star Wars movies were, some of the sequences were filmed over here in Ireland.
Were they? I did not know that.
Yeah, Skellig Michael or something like that, I think it's called. I'll have to look it up, but I think it's called Skellig.
Yeah. That island. Yeah, the island. It was in the more recent movies. That's right. Yeah, I'd forgotten about that.
And Saving Private Ryan. You know the opening sequences on Omaha Beach.
I did not know that.
Yeah. Is it Waterford? I think it's Waterford. But yeah, the first 20 or 25 minutes is all Ireland.
Well, I think I told you before, my mom is Irish, mostly Irish, and I have a lot of history with Ireland. I've never been there. I'd love to go sometime and possibly visit some of the places where my ancestors came from. That's a goal of mine in the future.
So that's a connection between Elvis, the movie that's being made, and Saving Private Ryan. There's Tom Hanks, of course.
Yeah.
Okay, so
and Tom Hanks doesn't make a bad movie, by the way. In my opinion, he doesn't make a bad movie.
No, I can't think of a bad movie. I can think of some great movies he's been in. Obviously, Saving Private Ryan, we mentioned. Not the Thin Blue Line. I was going to say the Thin Blue Line. Where did that come from? That's a comedy show over here, the Thin Blue Line. The Green Mile.
The Green Mile, yeah. Early in his career, he made some maybe questionable movies, but after he won back-to-back Academy Awards for Philadelphia and Forrest Gump, and after that, he became a little bit more selective in the movies that he made. He's made some fantastic movies. The most recent movie that he did, A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood, about Mr. Rogers, is really good. Have you seen that?
No, I haven't seen that yet. I must get around to going to see it. Also, Castaway is another one, isn't it?
Castaway was partially filmed in Memphis, yeah, and
because he was
he was a FedEx guy, yeah.
Working out of Memphis is right.
Yep. Yeah. They filmed some scenes at the airport at the FedEx facility at the airport here in Memphis.
Have you heard anything about what's going on down at Horn Lake? Now, is there any connection between Don Horn and Horn Lake?
No, I wish there was. I certainly wish there was, but no, there's no relationship whatsoever. But I've heard a little bit that apparently they're serious about trying to turn the Circle G Ranch into something. I don't know. People have been trying for years to make something out of it, and there's with little to no success. But more recently, there's been the report that there is a development in the works for the ranch. So we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, I read here that developments a year and a half ago, developers announced they were going to build cottages for visitors who wanted to get the royal experience. Obviously, for listeners, if they don't know what we're talking about, this is the Circle G Ranch that Elvis bought in 1967, and actually him and Priscilla honeymooned there at the ranch.
Yeah, and actually more recently, here on the local Fox channel, Fox 13 here in Memphis, about a little over a month ago, there was a story about it. And can you hear me still?
I can hear you perfectly. Yeah.
Okay, I thought I'd lost you for a second. I'm sorry.
No. I was just being quiet, letting you talk.
Oh, okay. There was a story about a little over a month ago on one of the local stations here. The entertainment consultant for Circle G Ranch, a guy named Jeff Cole, said that there's a major museum in the works. He said that there's still things going on, but the Rockabilly Hall of Fame Museum is going to be part of the planning phase for the Circle G Ranch and the museum, and that they're also looking to try to add a 3,800 to 5,000 people concert hall. And in addition to the museum, there would, where the old Pink restaurant is that's on the property. I'm sure you're familiar with that.
Yeah.
They're looking to turn that into a studio for a Rockabilly podcast. So they have a high ambition. We'll see if they can get it accomplished. But they do have the Rockabilly Hall of Fame behind them, so maybe they can get something done now.
So that's great. That's something to watch out for, because I'm sure lots of people would love to be able to stay in the same sort of. I don't know whether the main building will ever be open. That's the house where Elvis and Priscilla honeymooned. I don't know what they're going to do with that.
No, it's from what I've heard. I haven't been in it, but there's been people that I guess that have been in it or around it, and it's in pretty bad disrepair right now. And I guess it would probably take a lot to get it back up to where people could even go inside it without a danger of something collapsing or falling
Yeah,
on somebody.
yeah, I've seen pictures as well, and it's gone to rack and ruin, really. Unfortunately, it's
Yeah,
sad to
well,
see.
it really is. You would have thought that somebody, well, I would have thought that Graceland EPE would have tried to kept it up, but I guess they felt like that was something that they had no interest in.
I've always wondered as well. It's funny you were saying about EPE getting involved and putting money into it. I've often wondered why they haven't bought the house on Dolan as well, which is Vernon's old house. But
Yeah,
I heard somebody say Jack Soden actually, CEO of EPE, said that every time they've tried to buy it, it's the amount of money that the owner wants is just telephone numbers. It's just serious money,
yeah,
not really worth what the building's worth.
yeah. I've heard that too. I've heard that Soden mentioned that I guess whoever owned it at the time, whenever it's changed hands several times over the years, I guess, and whoever owned it at the time that they would try to buy it always inflated the price so much that it wasn't feasible for them to do, and I don't blame them for that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I suppose.
But now, from what I understand, it's pretty well in disrepair. From what I understand, I don't know if you heard that or not, but
Yeah, it doesn't look too good, and at the back, it's very run down as well. The pool is in a very
yeah,
bad state of disrepair. But if they could get the money together, I know they're short of money, but if they could get the money
yeah,
together, they could kind of they could make it part of the tour, couldn't they? Because there's almost like a walkway between the back of Vernon's house and
yeah,
the back of Graceland.
yeah. That's Elvis would Elvis and Priscilla would walk back there, walk through the pasture and walk to Vernon's house. I guess go through the back gate and just go in and sit down and have dinner with Vernon and Dee and whatever. So yeah, it could definitely be part of the tour if they ever could finally attain it.
Um, there was an auction in Elvis Week, and
Mm.
the press made a big thing about Elvis Presley's Harley-Davidson golf cart fails to sell.
Yeah,
And there's pictures and everything on the internet. And it says that he bought it for $1,055, the beige and white card, which is powered by a 245cc two-stroke engine, but it doesn't currently run. So
yeah.
if you did buy it, you'd have to push it.
Well, it could be part of the museum at the Circle G, I guess, if it
Yeah,
ever gets
yeah.
running.
It
But
says
yeah, I think what was the minimum bid for it? Was it like $25,000 or something
well,
like that?
the minimum bid was 20,000.
Okay, yeah,
And the auction estimated it would sell for between 60 and 70,000, but it didn't get anywhere near there,
yeah,
unfortunately. So,
yeah. It didn't even meet the minimum bid. Yeah, so
but we've seen
I
pictures of
thought,
Elvis tearing around on it in Graceland.
hmm
Uh,
yeah, sure have.
so
And I mean, if I had the money, if I had $25,000 just laying around, I probably would have bought it. But
yeah, and put a new engine in it.
yeah, well, I mean, if nothing else, I could have just bought it and put it on a little display somewhere and let people come and see it. Hey, this is Elvis's golf cart.
The things did sell though, because I'm seeing here other items pulled in big bucks, including an alpaca vest once worn by Elvis that sold for $42,500, and a monogrammed gold bracelet that attracted a high bid of 30,000.
Yeah, actually, there were a lot of things that I looked through the list of things that were on auction. And by the way, I'd like to mention that the golf cart was actually that Graceland was trying to sell that. That was EPE trying to sell that. And usually this is advertised as independent collectors trying to sell items or people who own Elvis items. But Graceland tried to slip that in. I don't know if people realize that or not. Because people are always saying, "Oh, Graceland doesn't sell any of Elvis's stuff." Well, yeah, they do. They tried to sell the golf cart.
Yeah.
But anyway, I didn't mean to get off on that. But I was looking through a lot of the things that were on sale, And the vast majority of them, I'd say probably 75% of the stuff, I really wouldn't care about having. Maybe, I guess, hardcore collectors might want to have some of that stuff, but there's just a lot of that stuff that I just really wouldn't care about. I don't know how you feel about that.
The monogrammed bracelet looks nice, but I'm just looking.
Any of the jewelry is just stuff that you would definitely want to have. Any of that.
Yeah, but there's a funny thing. I mentioned the alpaca vest, but the actual photograph that it shows is Elvis standing next to Eddie Fadel. You know Eddie Fadel from Waco?
Oh yeah.
And he's the one wearing the vest, not Elvis. So whether Elvis had given it to Eddie or not, I don't know. Just strange. Maybe. I don't know.
He probably did give it to him because that was his thing. He always giving away clothes and everything else. And there was something else I noticed. Did you see that? I'm looking at it here. It's lot number 107. Elvis Presley owned silver and stone statement necklace made by Mike McGregor and gifted to bodyguard Dave Hebler. Did you see that?
No, I didn't see that. No, I must admit.
It had 9 bids. The minimum bid was $2,500, and in the end, it ended up being passed on. It wasn't even purchased. The final price is just passed.
Wow.
Which that's really a surprise to me.
Yeah. Just actually mentioning Eddie Fadel there. I was speaking to Janice, his daughter, and she's offered to come on. She's offered to come on the podcast sometime to talk about. She was very small when Elvis used to go and visit Eddie, but I'm sure she has memories, and I'm sure Eddie told her about him as well.
Oh, so, yeah, and wasn't she married to Lamar Fike at one time?
I think she was. Yeah, I think you could be right.
So she probably has a whole lot of stories from Lamar that she can relate as well if she feels like doing that.
I've forgotten all about that.
I do believe after Elvis passed away, I do believe he did marry Janice, and they later divorced, of course. But
I know there was another there was another wife called Nora, wasn't there? Because Lamar was married a couple of times.
Nora was his first wife.
Yeah,
and then he divorced her sometime, I guess, in the early 70s when Elvis was getting his divorce, and Joe Esposito. They were all kind of in the same boat. They were all getting divorced around the same time. And then after Elvis passed away, Lamar married Janice, and then they divorced. And then he met another lady. I can't remember her name right off the top of my head, but he married her, I guess, sometime probably in the early 80s. And he stayed married to her, and then I think he eventually divorced her as well.
So he went through 3. Yeah, I think you're right. I think it was 3 wives.
Yeah.
But did you get chance to see the birthday proclamation from EPE from the front the front of Graceland?
I did. I watched. I didn't watch the entire thing, but I watched bits and pieces of it. It's not one of my favorite things to watch. It's almost, one of the things. I hate to say it, but for me, it's almost cringeworthy sometimes. But
yeah,
to each his own.
I've got here that the whole thing, the broadcast lasted 48 minutes, and 28 minutes of those were ads, and 20 minutes was Elvis.
That sounds about right. Yeah.
The ads were for excursions to Tupelo, Sun. They sort of gave a few mentions to Sirius FM and Priscilla's Elegant Southern Style Weekend.
And that's really what it was all about. It was really all about making money, wasn't it? I mean, let's just get right down to it.
Yeah, and then they say that there's upcoming acts as well. Lee Bryce, Tanya Tucker, Tesla, the nitty gritty dirt band. And somebody else, David Goody and the Sky Trails band, or somebody like that. So they're appearing at Memphis because they have an arena now at Graceland.
Yeah, they do. I think it's in the hotel, the new hotel, the Guesthouse. They have a I don't know, like a little amphitheater kind of thing or something. It's I don't know how many people it holds. I guess it holds quite a few. And they're bringing people in. Not anybody that I would really want to see yet. They might eventually have some people if they want to get like Bruce Springsteen to come down. That'd be great. But.
Yeah, and they'd probably be able to get Bruce quite easily. And I'll tell you the reason why is because Bruce is a huge fan. We all know that, don't we? Bruce is a huge Elvis fan. He climbed over the wall once, didn't he, at Graceland, tried to get in to see Elvis.
He did, and I believe it was in 1976. He sure did. Yeah, right there, but at the low point where the gate is, I mean the fence is there. I think down towards the end of the fence is like the lowest point for it, and you can hop over it real easily. I don't know if you've ever walked all the way down
Yeah.
past, past the guardhouse going south on Elvis Presley Boulevard. If you walk all the way down to the end of the fence there, it's very, if you wanted to, it'd be very easy to climb over that.
Yeah. I know. I mean, I always think, okay, it's easy to get in there, but it's not easy to get in and not be seen.
Yeah, well, it'd
So
be
even though you could get in quite easily, you wouldn't get very far.
Well, they said Bruce made it all the way to the front door, and I guess
that was obviously in '76. But just thinking now, 2020, I don't think you'd get very far.
No, you wouldn't think so. I don't know if you remember a few years ago, this was at nighttime, or like early in the morning, maybe about 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. Somebody rammed the front gates and drove an SUV all the way up to the front of the house and terrorized the guard that was up by the front of the house. Do you remember that?
No, I didn't hear about that. That's strange. I never heard about that.
Yeah, I can't remember how long ago that's been. That's been probably within the last 10 or 12 years, maybe. They tried not to have stories about it. I think they purposely kept it out of the papers and off the television stations because they didn't want people to know what happened. But it was something that was passed around among some of the message boards, and there were pictures of the gate. The gate was severely damaged. They had rammed the gates with an SUV and damaged the gates pretty badly, and drove up to the front, and there was only one security guard on duty, and she was up at the front, towards the front of the house, walking around, and I guess they threatened her or whatever. I never did hear any more about what happened.
Wow, but, that's pretty scary.
Yeah, and that really makes you wonder exactly how secure everything is.
Yeah, it does. Then they, what else did they do? Oh yeah, they showed fans wishing Elvis a happy birthday. But it was clearly taped in August at the Candlelight Vigil because, I mean, this was supposed to be January, but they were actually, some of them were actually holding the candles, and obviously they were dressed in t-shirts and shorts. So obviously with foresight, that's what they thought. They thought, well, when there's a whole load of fans here, we're going to tape them saying happy birthday to Elvis and then use that in January. So they showed that as well. I kind of thought that was nice, but you could tell that it wasn't sort of on Elvis's birthday.
Yeah, that sounds a little contrived, to say the least. I don't have a problem with that, though. I mean, they're trying to put on a show. They got to do the best that they can with it, and I don't have a problem with that, really.
Okay, so Argo opened the show. Then CEO Jack Soden thanked the wonderful fans for their loyalty. Joel Weinshanker, Graceland Holdings. He's the fella that's sort of makes all the new investment possible for Graceland. Yeah, he makes sure that they, that the money is got for whatever they need to do. And he was very brief. He said there was lots of upcoming artists at Graceland, and he also said that they're going to be expanding the Guesthouse.
Yeah, actually, I missed that part. I didn't hear that. What did he say?
He wasn't specific. He just said we have plans to expand the Guesthouse, but he didn't elaborate on what they. I'm sure it's just going to be more rooms, I would imagine.
Yeah, I think they've been pretty well booked up the majority of the time recently, anyway. So I guess maybe they feel like they need to expand it a little more.
Well,
that's great if true.
If they're turning bookings away, then that makes good business sense.
Yeah, they're actually, it's not just Elvis fans. They're getting a lot of people, because it is a very luxurious hotel. They're getting a lot of people. Like when I was there visiting last year, I saw a lot of like airline stewardesses and pilots. There's a lot of people coming in that are having layovers from flights that are staying there.
Yeah,
which is a good thing. And these are people that are they get an opportunity to be close to Graceland and maybe learn about Elvis. Maybe they didn't know about him very much before. So now they're getting an opportunity to do that. So I think that's a good thing.
If I said to you Kevin Kane, would you know who that was?
Yeah, he's I think he's the head of the he used to be over the Memphis like Chamber of Commerce or whatever, the Tourist Commission or whatever, didn't he?
Well, I'm going to give you 10 out of 10 because it's exactly what I've got in my notes. He's the CEO of Memphis Tourism.
Yeah.
He was very brief. He just kind of came on. He was the one that showed the most energy up until now. You know, Jack was very sort of dour and very sort of, yeah, and Argo was kind of, but yeah, no. Kevin came on and he was kind of, hey everybody, how's you going and all this, you know.
he's a promoter. He's very good at what he does. He's been around for a long time. I've never met him personally. I might have met him one time. I can't remember for sure, but that was many years ago. But yeah, he's good at what he does.
Yeah, and then he introduced Jerry Schilling.
Yeah, and Jerry is he's almost 80 years old now. Isn't he like 76 or 7 years old now?
Is he really? He must be.
Yeah. He's one of the, along with Billy Smith, he's one of the few guys that are still left. They were there really from the early, the 50s and 60s.
Yeah.
They're about the only guys that are left now.
I think
they were younger.
I think he met Elvis in 54.
Yeah.
So you're
right.
He
didn't go to work for him until 64, but he didn't meet him.
Yeah.
I think he met him through Red West, I believe, if I recall correctly.
Through football, the football games.
Yep, exactly.
I'm actually looking for contact details for Jerry to see. I mean, he probably won't, but there's no harm in asking if he'd come on to the show. But I can't. I haven't got any contact details for him yet.
Hey, you might be surprised. I'd shoot for the moon because that's a guy that would be worth talking to. And like I said, you might be surprised. He might be more than willing to talk with you.
Yeah, well, just for our listeners, actually, I do have some guests lined up who would have been very, very close to Elvis. So that's just for the future episodes, if people are interested. I can't say too much at the moment in case it falls through, but there are some people coming up that are, very, very close to Elvis and right in the inner circle.
Yeah, I will say the names that you've mentioned to me, I won't mention them because, like you said, you don't want to put the cart before the horse. But the names that you have mentioned to me, if you can get those people, that would be fantastic.
Well, fingers crossed. And as you say, shoot for the moon, because if you don't ask, you'll never get.
Yeah, exactly.
So Jerry was actually, he was emotional. His voice did shake a little bit at the start. He said it was his first birthday proclamation. I thought he'd been there before, but obviously not. Yeah,
I thought he had been there before too, but I guess it's his first. He's usually there in August most of the time.
And he told a story about naming Elvis Presley Boulevard, and he named a horse after Mayor Ingram. That must have been that was the mayor at the time of the night. What was it, 1972, when they named it Elvis Presley Boulevard?
I think actually Mayor Ingram was mayor of Memphis in like 1966 or 7 maybe, and I'm not sure about that. I don't want to say that for sure, but I was thinking that the mayor. I'm sorry, the horse, the Mayor Ingram was a horse that he had in the 60s.
Oh, could be wrong right, that. Yeah. Maybe Jerry got his dates wrong. I'm not too sure. He was saying about they went for a ride in the golf cart, and Elvis was just in his pajamas, and they were riding up and down Elvis Presley Boulevard, and Jerry said, "E, you're wearing your PJs, your pajamas." And Elvis said, "Hell, it's my street. I can wear what the hell I want."
I was going to try to look and see. William B. Ingram was mayor of Memphis from 1963 to 1967.
Right. So he probably didn't have anything to do with naming the Elvis Presley Boulevard.
No, I think from what I understand, Marty Lacker is really the guy that pushed that through more than anybody.
Yeah. I think you're probably right. Yeah.
because he was the one that wanted to have the Mid-South Coliseum be renamed as Elvis Presley Coliseum, and then the city council nixed that. So he turned his attention later to, because he'd been trying for years to get something named after Elvis, and he finally got the street named after him.
There's people who want the airport named after Elvis as well. And I remember before Marty passed away, he says it won't happen.
No,
so
no,
probably
it
plug
won't.
it.
It probably should happen, but I guess it's too late now. They could have had it done a few years ago. They probably could have had it accomplished, but it's too late now.
And then Jerry introduced his dear and best friend Priscilla.
Yeah.
So Priscilla came on.
Go ahead. I'm sorry. I was going to say something not nice, and I'm not going to say it. So.
Okay.
Go ahead.
She told a story about when Elvis bought a brand new car. She said 1975, 1976, and he rang her up and said, "Make sure the gates are open to the house because I'm coming." And she says, "Yeah, no problem, no problem." So he goes to Priscilla's house, and she notices. Now, she said he was wearing a jumpsuit. Now, I don't actually think that Elvis wore jumpsuits only when he was on stage. So
well,
he
very rarely did, but I'm sure you've probably seen those pictures of him wearing that not eagle jumpsuit, the Phoenix jumpsuit when he was going to buy cars in Memphis. Have you seen that?
Yes, I have seen that. Yeah.
So
there's a few photographs of him. He's walking into the parking lot, isn't he?
Yeah, and he also wore the penguin suit, which I'm not even sure if that was actually a jumpsuit. I think that was more like streetwear, but he did wear it on stage a few times. They call it the penguin suit.
Oh,
it
yes.
was white with black stripes down the side, and then he had a black one with white stripes down the side. So it's possible he was wearing a jumpsuit when he went to see her.
Okay, all right. And she said that she noticed that she could see his pajamas sticking out from below or somewhere. And, again, her joke was that she says, Elvis, what are you doing coming here wearing pajamas? And he said, "Hell, woman, I bring a brand new car for you to look at, and all you can talk about is my pajamas."
That does sound like something that you would say.
Yeah, it does. And then she went on to say how the UK, she did a tour recently, didn't she? She was in the UK for the Elvis in concerts with the Philharmonic Orchestra, and she said the UK fans were something else. So she gave the UK fans a shout out because there were UK fans there at the birthday proclamation. And
actually, I don't mean to interrupt you, but
no.
I think the fans, the European fans in particular, are probably the best Elvis fans there are. I'm not afraid to say that. I mean, I think there's a lot of American fans or a lot of Americans in particular don't really know much about Elvis, but there's still a lot even younger European fans that know a lot about him.
So, yeah, I mean, she made a point of shouting out or giving them a shout out, and that you could hear the big cheers from them. So she hit the mark there, and then they all gathered around the cake to sing "Happy Birthday, Elvis." Now, I don't know how you feel about this, but I would be more comfortable if they didn't sing "Happy Birthday, Elvis," but just maybe cut the cake.
Yeah, everybody could have just said, in unison, "Happy Birthday, Elvis," and then cut the cake. But yes, actually singing the song, that's a bit much. Yeah.
Yeah. If it was up to me, I'd knock it on the head.
Yeah, no, I mean, the guy's been gone now for almost 43 years. It's a little late to be trying to sing "Happy Birthday" to him.
Well, don't forget, every time they have the birthday proclamation, there's then a picture posted on the internet the next day. Elvis Presley watches his own birthday celebrations, and there's a guy, sunglasses on and a big bushy beard and a baseball cap, and this is Elvis.
Yeah. It's actually I've seen that those pictures that you're referring to of that guy that he's actually on the ground sometime or whatever. And from what I understand, I think that might actually be one of his cousins. I've heard somebody say that might actually be somebody related to him that's actually maybe still works for Graceland in the groundskeeping.
Yeah, and his name is on the tip of my tongue, and I can't think of it.
Well, it's one of the Gambles. I think it's one of the Gambles, Patsy Presley's.
That's it.
Kids.
It's one of the Gamble boys. Yeah.
Yeah, and it would stand to read. He probably does maybe have a faint resemblance to Elvis, and that would explain why people might think it's him.
Yeah. So that's Elvis week tied up. Nothing else happening in the Elvis world that you can tell us about?
No, not really that I can think of. Not off the top of my head. This time of year is kind of a downtime, really, in Memphis as far as Elvis goes. Everybody will be, in a few months, will be gearing up to get ready for Elvis week in August. For people like me, it's always Elvis week, but the majority of the people, they don't get a chance to be here every day like I do. So he's one of the reasons why I'm here in Memphis now. He's maybe the primary reason why I'm here now. He's the reason I live here. So every day is Elvis Day, and every week is Elvis week.
Did you go anywhere near Graceland during Elvis week?
No, I stayed away. I went down during Christmas time. Like I think I told you, last time we talked, I try to take my kids down there every Christmas time so they can see the Christmas lights and decorations and everything. And a lot of times when I go, it's almost like a spur of the moment thing, and that's one of the great things about living here. If you suddenly get the urge to go to Graceland, you just hop in your car and you drive for 20 or 30 minutes and you're there. And that's one of the benefits of being here, of living here.
I would imagine now a lot of our listeners are envious of you being able to do that.
Oh yeah, I would be if I was in somebody else's shoes and I lived 1,000 miles away or 5,000 miles away. Yeah, I would be envious of somebody that could literally, hop in your car, like I said, and be there in less than an hour. Depending on traffic, it could be 20 minutes maybe. And that's like I said, that's one of the reasons I'm here, because so that I can do that when I want to. I always have that option.
I was thinking, is there any FTD releases coming up shortly that you know of? Follow That Dream releases?
No, I heard a rumor, and it's strictly a rumor, that there's going to be a big 50th anniversary Elvis That's the Way It Is set coming out this year. Have you heard anything about that?
No, I haven't. No, I must admit I haven't.
It is the 50th anniversary of That's the Way It Is, which is probably my favorite Elvis movie. And it's like I said, it's strictly a rumor, but I did hear that they're planning something really big for that this year. And if they do, it's a long awaited, because there's so much film from that movie and from Elvis on tour that we don't have, and I'd love to see it someday.
Well, I'd imagine they can't let it pass without doing something, as you say, because it was such a great movie. And another thing as well, you just touched on Elvis on tour. An upcoming guest, hopefully, is going to be a guy called Kevin Higgins, and he's got a Facebook group which is called Release the Elvis on Tour Footage. So they're trying to remember that group. Yeah. So I'm going to get Kevin on to just discuss that. I just, before we're all too old to enjoy it, or before some of us even pop off this mortal coil, we'd love to see it. There's so much there in the can to be seen.
Yeah, I'm 47 years old myself, and there are people that are 20, 30 years older than me that have been waiting for this stuff for 50 years to see this, to see all this extra footage. And it's almost a crime not to have it in a good quality for people to see, because there's so much there. And he was in his prime those years. I mean, he was on top of everything, professionally anyway. And it's really, nobody was better than him in a live performance. And it's not doing the fans justice to not let us be able to see that.
I'm pretty sure there's enough material for about 6 or 7 DVDs and probably 3 or 4
Sure.
CDs quite easily.
Sure. Absolutely. Yeah. Because
And
they filmed a lot of stuff in 70 and in 1970 and in 1972. They filmed hours and hours of stuff.
if they want to give me the job, if they want to just leave me in an editing suite for a month or two, I could easily do it.
I nominated you and Jack Mullins together. I think you two guys should get together and do that.
Definitely. I would enjoy it. Definitely enjoy it. But it would be a fan's job, and it would be done right. I mean, I don't mean that big-headedly, but some of the things that have come out, you know, it's been done in a way, and the fans turn around and say, you know, that's not the way it should have been done. You know, they always need they should put input. They should listen to the fans and let them put some input into these things.
Yeah, I think, you know, they should get a good cross section of people together. So, you know, it's like I mentioned, you, Jack Mullins, Gary Conway. There's a few more people that I could mention that they could get everybody together and say, you know, we're looking at releasing Elvis on tour. What do you think we should do? How do you think we should approach it? We may use your recommendations. We may not.
Yeah.
But let's hear what you have to say.
Yeah, that's a good idea. That's a good idea. Even if they don't pay any attention, at least they've asked us.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Okay, so no other business?
No, not really that I can think of. Like I said, it's you know, it kind of slows down this time of year, really. I'll probably think of something after I hang up with you. I was trying to do a little research to be ready for you, but I really can't think of anything new that's happening right now.
I know. I mean, we covered quite a bit, really. I mean, we covered the we covered the birthday proclamations. We recapped on the Elvis biopic. So yeah, we covered quite a bit. I don't think there's anything else we need to discuss. As you say, as soon as you put the phone down, you'll think, oh, that's what I should have said. That's what I should have said.
If I could say one more thing about the biopic, the last time we talked back in December, I wasn't too thrilled about it. I was thinking, you know, I think I articulated that to you. I was thinking, you know, it's just going to be another thing that we're all going to be disappointed in. But I'm a little more optimistic about it now than I was a couple of months ago. I got to say, from everything that I'm kind of hearing from the people that they've decided to cast for the roles, I'm a little more optimistic about it than I was. I will say that.
Yeah, it's funny. I'm a little bit like that as well. I think probably now we can see it's in the filming. We've got you know, the actors and actresses. They're not sort of, you know, they're not unknowns. Okay, they're not major, huge megastars like Tom. I mean, Tom would be the biggest.
Of course.
But you know, I mean, even Rufus Sewell and Maggie Gyllenhaal. You know, they're well known. They're well known.
Yeah, well, Maggie Gyllenhaal is, like I said earlier, she's a very good actress. So I think that was really good casting for her. And Rufus Sewell, I don't know about that as far as Vernon. Well, I'll take a wait and see approach on that. But I think it's a positive to have him involved for sure.
My intention is it sounds a long way away, but almost immediately it's released, I'll go and see it. And then we can maybe do a review or something like that for it, and we can compare notes, and I can say, hey Don, what did you think of it?
You know, and I wonder, maybe they'll have the world premiere here in Memphis. Wouldn't that be great if they did that?
That's the way they should do it, definitely.
Yeah, I really think that would be this would be the place to have it for sure.
Elvis's hometown, without a doubt, without a doubt. Okay, so I know you've got to rush off and attend to your kids now, I think, have you? Yeah,
I got to go pick them up. We pick them up every day in our car, and there's a long line every day. Sometimes we have to sit for an hour or more just to wait to pick them up. So a good part of our day is spent just sitting outside of the school waiting on them to get out.
Right. So thanks very much once again for spending an hour with me talking Elvis. It's always a pleasure.
Well, absolutely, man. Anytime you want to talk, I'm more than eager. And now that we're over the flu and everything, I won't have to put you on hold like I did before.
It's no problem. I understand. But yeah, no, I'll hold you to that. I'll get you back and we'll talk Elvis again.
Sure, I look forward to it, and I'll be looking forward to all your future podcasts with everyone else too, because you're doing a great job, and the more of these that you do, the more people are going to know about you, and they're going to want to be on your show, I believe.
Thank you very much. We'll mention again, last week's episode was Sherry Lacker, Marty Lacker,
Absolutely.
who was Elvis in Elvis's Memphis Mafia, and he was also his best man. I interviewed Sherry, and she was great. Everybody, it was positive.
Absolutely. Yeah, she was great. If anybody hasn't listened to that, they need to take an hour and a half, however long it was. They need to take time out of their day to listen to her, but she has a lot of great stories to tell.
And as I say, we've got more guests coming up as well, close to Elvis, so listen out for that as well.
Oh yeah, absolutely. People, like I said, people are going to know you. If they don't already, they're going to know you fairly soon, and they're going to want to listen to your show to hear who's on, who's going to be on this week. That's going to be the question.
Yeah, that's great. That's great, because we're just trying to build it up, and it's all for Elvis. It's all for the love of Elvis.
Oh, yeah.
And we should also mention that you can hear this podcast on YouTube as well, and Google Podcasts and Apple Play, or Apple Podcasts and so forth. Anywhere where podcasts are homed, you can listen to us.
Pretty much. I listen to you on Podbean. If I don't listen to you on YouTube, I'll listen to it on Podbean. That's been my choice.
Yeah. And also, I was going to say something else, and I can't remember what I was going to say. That's old age. That's old age for you.
Yeah. We all go through it, Steve.
I just remembered, if anybody wants to contact us, they can do so by going to Elvis the Ultimate Fan Channel at gmail.com, and they can drop us an email, and they can just, they can give us feedback. They can suggest topics for future episodes. Anything they want to do at all, just give us an email on that.
I'd love to hear what other people have to say, like you said, about suggestions about topics. I think that would be, like we mentioned about Elvis fans talking to EPE about how to release Elvis on tour, and Elvis That's the Way It Is in a repackage possibly. I think Elvis fans telling you, suggestions about what you can talk about on your show would be equally as important.
Thanks once again to Don for joining me on this podcast. I hope we entertained you with our Elvis ramblings. You can contact me with feedback, questions, or suggestions for future episodes at Elvis the Ultimate Fan Channel at gmail.com. You can also find me on YouTube and Facebook under the same title. I hope you will join me next time for another episode from Elvis the Ultimate Fan Channel podcast.